Hello, my name is Carl Surrey and this is a video tutorial for two Facebook groups, first being fans of Serif software and the second Affinity design and photo group. And this tutorial is going to be a very basic look at making some 3D text. This is more for beginners, which is what I am, and I do apologise to anybody who is more advanced in this program, who probably will think this is, not that great. But it is, like I say, more for beginners. And this all came about from, I was in the Affinity Designer and Photo group, and somebody asked about making some 3D text, and Bill maybe demonstrated this with this image that he made here. So I started to think, well, how would I go about doing this? So, like most people, I would look for a video tutorial, and I had a quick hunt round, and I found this one by ChecKit Affinity Designer Tutorials. Now, it's a very good video, and the only trouble is there is no commentary and really not that much in the way of screen help. You do sometimes see the keys that he's pressing, but beyond that you have to do it all by just watching it and rewinding it and what have you, to follow along. So I thought I'd sort of try and recreate part of this. I'm not recreating all of this, but with a commentary. I've only gone to about halfway point, and if you want to expand on what this gentleman has done, I suggest you watch the rest of the video as far as I've taken it, and then sort of learn a bit more that way. So, going back to Affinity Designer, my first attempt at doing this, I came out with this effect, and my second attempt I came out with that one. It's fairly basic effect, so I'm going to try and recreate it again on this new document that I made. So first thing I would do is I'll just make a background layer just by using the rectangle tool and just covering the start background. So then I have this background pixel layer, and then I just want to sort of, you can recolor this with whatever you want, or you could use a photograph. I'm just going to use a style, which is one I made for myself, which is this gold sort of gradient effect. So now I have my background, I just need a bit of text. So I'm just going to come to the artistic text tool, draw out a size I want it to be roughly, and I'll just use my own name like I did before. And then now if I come to the move tool, I'll just position this. Now this is where my lack of knowledge sort of will come into this, because the person who did the ChecKit video, they were using, I believe it was the move tool anyway, they were resizing it, but they were able to sort of stretch it around in sort of all sorts of different positions and angles, but this would only let me come out diagonally or come out vertically like that, or horizontally if you go that way. It wouldn't really let me move it in quite the same way the bloke did it in the video. I'm guessing that's more down to me, or maybe the PC version isn't the same as the Mac version, or I'm missing something with the options at the bottom, but I really couldn't understand it, but it's not necessarily that important for this demonstration. We'll just move this slightly around, and I will just position this roughly in the center. And what I need to do now is I will come back to the text tool, and I will just highlight this text because I want to change the color. And I'm going to go for, what should we go for this time? Green, maybe a darker green. Here we go for that one there. So I'll just come back to my layers. So I've got the background layer and I have the text layer. I'll just come off of that tool. So we have the layer highlighted here, and then the next thing I want to do is to convert this to curves, and to do that there's a button up here in the top section of the screen. You just click on convert to curves, and what that would do, this will change that from a layer sort of into a group, and then you have like each letter is separated. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to click on the uppermost curve within that section, hold down the shift key and click on the bottom one so it highlights all of those. And then along the top here you've got 5 buttons, and the first one is add, so I'll click on that and it will make all of those a sort of a mini group within the main group. Now what I will do here, and he didn't do this in the video, but I'm going to do this, I'm going to rename it. I'm just going to call it 1, so I know that that is the top layer. And what I'm going to do next is we're going to duplicate this, so I'll just right click and click duplicate, or you can just do Control and J, and I'm going to rename this one 1A again, just so I know that that is the copy of number 1. So what I want now is to change the color of this. I want it slightly darker, and it's easier to do if I turn off number 1 layer, so all I'm looking at is that 1A layer, and I'm just going to make it slightly darker green, probably too dark, that one. Alright, that will do. So I'll turn the number 1 layer back on. So it should be, what I need to do, sorry about this, I need to move this above the 1A layer, the darker layer. Right, so now I have my lighter colour at the top and the darker colour at the bottom. What I need to do is highlight the darker layer, and I'm going to zoom in quite a bit here. I'm going to use the navigator panel to zoom in, and just pick an area where you can see what you want to do. It's best to zoom in for this because it's very difficult to move very small bit area percentages or what when you're zoomed out, because you can't really see it that well. So if you zoom in and move it, it is much better. So yes, I'm still highlighting this layer, and what we're going to do now is what is like, I think it's called power copying. Because if you hold down the control key, and I think that's the command key on the Mac, and then left click and just drag out very slightly. I'm going to come down a little bit and to the right a little bit, and then let go of the command key, control and the left mouse button. You can zoom out if you want now. And then if you just press Control and J however many times that you want to, it will duplicate not just the layer but also the movement you did previously. So in my case, I went down and to the right. I mean, you may go up and to the left, but whatever you did previously, it will copy the movement as well as the layer. So just keep pressing Control and J, and you might want to be careful, like where the R I've got here is coming close to the L, so you may have an area that's going to overlap with whichever text that you're typing in. But I'll just keep pressing Control and J until it's a little bit nearer. I think one more and that's about it. So that's all those versions of 1A. Are made there. So you will have a layer highlighted, and I'm just going to come down to the bottom to the very first one, and I'm going to hold down the Shift key and click this first one, and that will highlight all those layers. And then I will come back up to the Add button, and then it will just it just really condenses the layers down because these are all now added together. So let me just press Control and 0 to center this again. Right, so now what we want to do is to, if you look at the top here, we're on the Move tool, so we've got Fill, which is the green, and Stroke at the moment on my particular version. It may be different on yours, but I have no color at all at the moment, so I'm going to click on that to bring up the color panel, and I'm going to make that black. Now you probably won't see that much of an effect at the moment, because at the moment that color is set at 0.2, so it's very, very thin. Let me just click on this line. It will open up another panel, and you can alter the width of that, what is called the stroke, which is basically the outline. You can make that as thick as you want, but I just want it to add a little bit of highlight like that. That's about 4.3. So now if I zoom in here, what you can see is sort of like the edges here. You've got the sort of like, it's not very smooth because you've got the different layers, each one jutting out slightly differently. I mean, some areas are nice and smooth, and others will be slightly jagged or very jagged, depending on how much you moved up, down, and to the one side. So what I can do now is come up to Layer and expand Stroke. It will sort of smooth this out slightly, not a major amount, but it will just make it slightly less jaggedy and will improve the overall look. I mean, that's at 634% viewing, which you're not going to really see that close. You come down to like 100% and it looks much better. I'll press Ctrl and 0 to center this again. Right. Now the other sort of slight problem, which I really don't know too much about how to solve at the moment, is like you're sort of missing the line, sort of going from that corner to that corner to help give the 3D effect. I've got a similar sort of problem here with the A and the R and the L. I'm guessing I could just add a layer and draw a black line across there, but it is only a minor problem as far as I can see anyway. The next thing I want to do is I'm going to come back to my top layer, which, if you remember, I named number 1, so I knew it was different from all the others. And I'm just going to add a bit of 3D effects to this. So I'm going to click on the effects button down here, which will open the layers effects panel, and then I'm just going to put a tick into 3D, and I'm going to click and highlight 3D so I get all the options, and then I'm just going to bump up the 3D effect on this particular layer. You could, if you wanted to, outline that layer, so highlight the particular option to get the controls for that particular option, and I'm just going to add a very slight outline to help define the top layer slightly better. Let me just click outside here to see what that looks like. Yeah, I'm fairly happy with that. It's about as far as I personally can take it with my knowledge of this particular program. But just to slightly expand on this, which isn't in the ChecKit video, I'm going to click on the group. In fact, I can close the group so it's not so many layers visible, and I'm going to just move this up a bit further because I'm just going to add a very quick reflection. There we go. And then I'm going to duplicate that whole group. So again, you can just press Ctrl and J or just duplicate. So then I can flip vertically, and then I'm going to use the move tool, which we're still on, to drag this down and below. Now what I might do is just click on this top layer and nudge it up slightly more. And then just bring that as close as I can. If I'd left this a straight bit of text, it probably would have ended up being a better result. But so what I want to do now is to sort of fade this off into the foreground. So I'm going to do is I'm going to add a layer mask, which is this sort of white square with a black circle in it. Just click on that and it will add a layer mask to this layer, and it is currently a white layer mask, which will hide the effect of anything that we add to it unless black is painted on it, and that is what I'm going to do in the form of a gradient. And I'm going to go with a linear gradient, which is under type, and we need to make sure that is just double checking that it is the mask that I am drawing this onto, and I'm just going to hold down the shift key so I draw a straight line like so, and then making sure that the bottom of these nodes is the one highlighted because it is bigger than the one above. I'm going to change the color of that to black. Just make sure it is black, and then that will fade because because it's white at the top. It will allow the image to show, and as it goes down to the black, it will then start to hide some of that image. And I can move the center point so it starts to fade much sooner. Go to about there, I think. And then the last thing I will do is for the whole group, I will just lower the opacity like that, about there, which is about 35–36%, and then press Control and 0. And that is basically the tutorial finished. So you can see the 3D text effect with a reflection if you so desire that. So it would just be a case now of saving your project and or exporting it as an image, but I would just advise that you export it under a new name, especially if you've used a background that has got its own name, background image, because then if you don't save it under a new name, you will be overwriting that original. So thank you for watching. I'm very sorry for any advanced users are probably pulling their hair out, but this has been my third attempt, so I hope it has been okay.